Hi guys, it's Gwen again. I'm back, or actually for me, it's only been just a few minutes since I filmed the first one in the series because I wanted to make sure that they flowed well, I guess. And I've kind of been sitting on these ideas for a while. So if you clicked on the title, you know this is part 2 of fixing or redesigning palettes that I didn't quite love. And today's video, we will be focusing on Colourpop palettes. I did do kind of a Colourpop rant about the Animal Crossing collaboration that they did, but be, understanding that I love Colourpop as a brand. They just put out so much that there's no way they can all be hits. There's just constant releases. Some of them are going to be misses, and I know some of these were complained about by a lot of people, and others might just be my opinion on its own, and other people might totally disagree with me. So anyway, this is just my opinion, some things I would have tweaked in some Colourpop palettes, but I love Colourpop as a brand. I'm wearing 2 different Colourpop palettes on my eyes. I have Mint to Be and Making Mauves. Purple and green are some of my favorite colors, and I feel like they go really well together. Those palettes I love on their own, I love in combination. So I love Colourpop, don't get me wrong. There's just some things that I would change. So without any further, ranting on that, let's get right into the video. Okay, guys, for the first palette that I wanted to redesign, I went back to one of the complained about palettes, the Candy Castle Colourpop Land palette based on the Candyland game. The board game was something that I loved as a child, and when I think back on what I loved about the game, the board game itself was so vibrantly colored, so fun. I loved the Ice Queen personally. She was the character that I wanted to get to on the board. And the purples, greens, blues, everything really stood out, even in my memory. So when I saw this palette that's just so bland, and pastels are cute, but this pastel palette I just don't feel like really represents the Candyland theme. It could have been just a little better. So, oh, and I do remember watching some reviews where people were mad that all of the shades had like micro glitter in them. There were not any true matte shades in the palette. So I went ahead and I changed a lot of the shades to mattes and left some of the shimmers as well. But I, of course, like I always say, I wanted some depth, some dimension, so that I would want to buy this palette. I would need there to be some lights, some darks, some mattes, some shimmers, variety. That's the spice of life. So I changed a lot of the colors to more vibrant versions of what they originally were. I completely took out the brown shades. I don't know. I just feel like it's not necessary to have 2 brown shades in a Candyland palette. That was just my feeling on it. And I feel like it still matched the theme and the cover that they put really well. And I put like a peppermint spiral overlay over the inside of the palette. I just feel like to spice it up a little bit. Candy theme, peppermint, sprinkles, it all goes together in my opinion. So yeah, I changed a couple of the pastels to be slightly more matte and then slightly more vibrant, because when you put a pastel in your eyes, it is going to soften most likely, especially because I know Colourpop's formula. They're very blendable, easy to work with, so they can take some building up if you really want vibrant colors. So I just made the shadows more vibrant to begin with, and then I put some dark shimmers in there and one darker matte. I made the orangey red shade a little bit darker, and the purple a little darker, and the blue shimmer, I really deepened that a lot. So you could do with this palette a super colorful eye look, or you could just do an easy 2 shade, 1 matte, 1 shimmer eye look and go. I would have bought this palette if it was more like this. I'm not saying exact, but just more like this. What do you think? Would you have bought the Colourpop palette the way it was, or my way? Did you buy it the way it was? What would you have changed about it if you could change something? Okay, moving on. The next palette that I really didn't love, and I did see some other people complain about it as well, the Hello Kitty winter themed palette just was boring, and I don't feel like it was actually inspired by Hello Kitty at all. I watched the Hello Kitty cartoon. I also enjoyed the Sanrio characters in the Animal Crossing game. They are always vibrant and exciting, and especially Hello Kitty herself. When you think about her, the first colors that pop into your mind are white, red, and pink. And that palette didn't have any of those. I mean, it had a dusty pink, but to me, these shades look so much more orangey than like what I would have done for a Hello Kitty palette. Especially also, it's a winter themed palette, and the colors looked totally fall to me instead of snow winter. So what I did was I added a like snowy white blue and then a pinky snow white color. So like two different reflects on a white shimmer. I kept two of the tones that were more peachy, just, so I wasn't completely changing everything, but I did pink them up a little bit so that they weren't like orange. And then I put a true red, a dusty pink, and one like dark red brown and a dark purple, and I deepened one of the pinks so that there was dimension. I know you're going to get tired of hearing me say it. I need dimension. And I just feel like this palette also matches the packaging so much better. You can see Hello Kitty is wearing a dusty pink, red, and white. And she's got blue boxes, and the background has like, it's got purple snowflakes and red snowflakes. So I just drew my inspiration from the packaging that Colourpop made and made the palette itself match that theme instead of looking like it was just a palette that they slapped Hello Kitty on. So this is a palette I would buy. Again, I want to know your opinions. Do you like my version better? Do you like the original version better? What was your opinion? Did you buy it? Did you love it? Do you think it's wrong that I changed it? I want to know your thoughts on this. I need to know if you guys like this series or if this is just something that like is a hobby of mine that I should keep to myself, you know? So we're gonna move right on to the next Colourpop palette that I sort of felt personally that I really wanted. Like I almost bought it, but then I just couldn't bring myself to because it just wasn't quite enough for me. There was like a Colourpop desert collection, and I live in the desert. I love the desert. I think it's beautiful. But there's specifically this succulent themed palette that was so vibrant on the packaging. And when you look at the packaging versus the colors that were in the palette, it just dulls in comparison. So I took those shades that I thought were just dull and boring, and I really spiced them up. And I took out some of the redundant browns and I made them green or purple or orange, and I really wanted it to look like what succulents look like. When you think of succulents, you think of purple, green, teal, orange tips, like that, and I would have bought a palette like that. And the green and the purple in this was really what stood out to me and what made me almost buy it. So I added more greens and purples because that's really what have pulled me in to actually purchase this. And there's a lot of the colors that I just left completely the same in this palette. I think I switched the order of two of them, but like some orangey shades and brown shades I just left completely, and then other shades I deepened, and I just added a green and a purple, just some pops to make it really look like the cover. I would have bought it this way. I almost bought it the other way. I was so close, and I thought about it and it wasn't quite enough for me. I have a lot of neutral palettes that I don't really need a neutral palette with just one green shimmer in it. But if it had multiple greens and purples, I would have went for it immediately. Okay, last but not least, we have the Frozen 2 collection, which was a beautiful collection, especially, of course, in the packaging. Colourpop does amazing packaging designs, and I liked the rest of the collection, especially since the two sisters' palettes and collections do contrast and at the same time go well together. So I drew on that inspiration and just tweaked it a little bit, because when the two palettes are next to each other, you can actually see that some of the shades are like very similar between the two, and it wouldn't make me buy one and the other. I would have just bought one. I liked Anna's palette much better than Elsa's, but I love Elsa herself, being an older sister. That's just who I'm drawn to as a character. So I made way more changes. I made way more changes to Elsa's palette than I did to Anna's, and I wanted to really lighten it. Because Anna's palette is so bold and fall inspired and like, yeah, it's just really rich, that I wanted Elsa's palette to be more cool, more subdued, but still work with that palette like in conjunction. Like you can tell they're sister palettes, but they're not the same colors over and over. So I deepened the brown in Elsa's palette, and I added in some pinks and a light purple and another blue shade because I really wanted it to feel wintry and frosty, and I really like what I did with that palette. And then in Anna's palette, I think I only made 2 changes. I made the bottom left corner a bright like pink red, and then I made the orange shade in the top row, I made that brighter too, just so that I could have like some contrast and it wasn't all the same color. But other than that, I didn't really change anything in her palette because I really liked that one, and I just wish that Elsa's palette had had as much thought put into it as Anna's did. So this is what I would have done to change those two. And if they were like this, I probably would have purchased the whole collection, honestly, because Frozen is a really great Disney movie series for me, being a sister, an older sister, and just loving the music in it. Yeah, it's something that I love and felt really attached to. So to see that it wasn't quite what I wanted was kind of sad. And this is what I would have done to make it better. So again, please let me know your thoughts, what you thought about all my palettes that I made versus the originals, or did you purchase any of the originals and really like them and maybe wouldn't have changed a thing? I don't know. Just let me know. Talk to me in the comments below, and I really appreciate your feedback so much. Also, if I talked way too fast in this video, please let me know. Yeah, I've been coughing so much that just being able to talk like consistently is getting me excited. There I go. But yeah, so sorry if I talked way too fast in this video. Just a little excited. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Please, if you're not subscribed to me, hit the subscribe button and the notifications button. Like this video if you liked this video. And yeah, I hope you guys just have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye.